Hello everybody, welcome to another workshop from Winter Wonderings and Highlight Crafts. This is the latest in our Christmas collections. So I'm going to give you lots of ideas in this class and show you a few little tricks as well. So first of all, I've printed out a few of the backgrounds because I know when we're demonstrating on Create and Craft, you get to see really nice demonstrations, but we don't always get the chance to get into the detail of the elements. So remember, these are downloadable on highlightcrafts.com. So first of all, this one, and I've chosen to bring out my viewfinders again because it really does help focus where we want the design. So I'm going to take a look at some different card shapes. So this one would work really nicely if we were looking at a rectangular card. If we're looking at a square card, you might want to look at different areas of the actual background to work, because you get lots of different effects, and it also changes when you come onto an oval. So if I move that around, I might want to bring this up so that the house is very much the focal part of the card. And if we go back and we compare that one with the one that we were looking at the moment, where the house is just a tiny little touch in the corner, they look so different. And that one in particular, just that and a little bit more foliage. So I would take some of the die cut elements that I've already got done ready, pop those in to the side so I've got a little bit of extra dimension so you can see it. I'd probably leave that loose. Put my fence in right at the front, so I bring this one right down here to the front, and you've already created that beautiful card. We could then put our little foxes right at the very beginning of this story, and even Mummy could be right behind the fence waiting for them to come to, all of them to come out to play. So there's lots of elements with this that are going to work really well. If I take the foxes away, but I just want to work with maybe some of my florals, I can bring them in and just build a little bit of decoration and embellishment around the top of the design. So again, he's just framing that story for us. So let's move on and look at some of the others before we choose which one we're going to work with. So here's another one. This one's quite interesting because we've already got some deer in the field. So this might be one where I'd want to go rectangular in shape, but then it would work perfectly if I brought our stag right into the foreground. So it's there right at the front of that story, and then put that with our baby deer that we've got and bring that one in just here. And, you know, because often animals have twins, you could bring two of them into that story and it wouldn't look out of place at all. And you've got there again a really fabulous looking card, which just all it needs is maybe some of that fabulous Cadence product on here to finish it off, a little bit of our Christmas elements in, and some foliage to finish all these parts off, and it really is going to look quite stunning. So you can see that's a completely different look and feel. But this one works really well if you take a circle. So look at that. I mean, that is just bringing everything into that story, looking really, really clever. So I'm just going to move those out of the way. And, you know, this whole story from Two Red Robins is, and I hope you're enjoying our little storytelling that we're doing. This one is very much about the way that the forest has just been literally, it's wearing its winter coat, and that story that we've got. And if I bring this right up here so that it looks like the moon is just setting and you've got that fabulous story around there, or I come right down to the front and we've got the frozen waters and the animals have just come to literally get themselves a drink. And isn't that just storytelling at its best? But I haven't finished because I want to go on to the next one for you. And, you know, these are such pretty backgrounds. There's so much detail in them that allows us to add all those extra elements. Using your viewfinders makes a big difference. It makes it easier for us to be able to focus our mind on the areas that we want to do the work. So if I take this one, for instance, I've got that lovely story going on with the cottage. If I take this part of the fence, I'm just going to let that just sort of go over the edge there so it looks like there's a little bit more fence going on. And then I'm going to take another one and I'm going to take this piece and slot that down. But it's been designed so that it naturally looks like it wants to join up. So now we've got a really old, broken old fence there that is just lending itself to being outside. And we've got then the little foxes, and I would probably be tempted to put those right at the front of the card, so I've got part of the frame. And I'm then going to come in with Mummy as well. So they are a whole other story. We're looking at the foreground, the midground, the background, having all of that going on. But in your collections, there are also these fabulous little characters. And that, take away the fence, just sitting to the side of the design actually looks stunning. Some decoupage on here, a sentiment to finish it off, and your Christmas card making is going to be so, so special. So I'm going to move on to the next one. So we've seen that will have been the fourth one that we've looked at so far. And this one is a landscape design. And particularly one of my favourites because there are so many areas of this that we can go into and we can work with. And don't forget the other things that we've done for you. You've got Bluebell Wood, where you've actually got that as a story and in fact have got it so that it's been coloured for Christmas. So lots of detail and lots of stuff that we can be doing with all of these. So this one again, bringing in the fence that I've got there. Maybe some of those trees that are a little bit worn and also they've lost all the leaves, which you can see. Look at the difference that that immediately makes. If I pull this over a little bit, still works. The house is there between the trees, so you can see what's going on. I can bring my deer, and I do know that we've done quite a few deer, but for me, they're such an integral part of Christmas that I think we do need to have choice and mix and match them. They've all been coloured so that they'll work together. I think that's such a lovely story, all of that coming together. Okay, so we've looked at all the different designs. Now going to look at what we've got to choose from. And so I'm going to go back into this one in particular. And I'm going to work out how we're going to build this as a card. I'm not going to glue this down because there's a few things I want to show you as different options as I go along. So that's going to give us the most options and the most variety. So the first thing is from this particular one, am I going to go square or am I going to go with the circle? So circle or square. I actually think the circle would look particularly good, especially if I just move that up. We were doing that so that that was the sun rising. Or if I bring it right down here, so it's almost as if that is the sun there, just literally coming into the picture. We're winter cold, wintry sun. So the first thing that I do when I'm working with one of my viewfinders, or maybe you've used your foundation dies to actually cut yourself an aperture, is come into my card and I'm just going to trim this down. So when I'm working with something like this, the first thing that I do is decide on the size of the card, and of course that's something you can use your craft mat for. So for this, we've got a card that is 20 centimetres wide. So so I've got 20 centimetres here. If I want this onto a square card, I need 20 centimetres in depth. Now, that lets me know that it's going to be about there. And what I've done on purpose is I've left it so that I've got more at the bottom than I've got at the top. So I've got a bigger space here than I have up here. Some of that is because I want to put my sentiment at the bottom, so it gives me somewhere to be able to put that sentiment. So this would get trimmed down to fit into that space. Also gives me a place to put it to the side. So again, it's a little bit of trimming, but a design always looks more balanced when you've got a heavier amount at the bottom than you have at the top. So bear that in mind. Either needs to be equidistant, top and bottom, or my personal preference is to have it heavier at the bottom. So now I've got to decide where this is going to go on here, and I'm going to bring it quite a long way down because I want to be able to utilize those little red berries that I've got. So the next part of this is, once again, I'm going to be trimming off the excess. Now I'm putting it under here, and what I'm going to do is, instead of trimming it right against that edge there, I can see that's the bit that I need. I can see here that my circle is going to come across this little branch here. And the reason that I'm keeping note of that point there is because if I then cut here, so that's still going to give me enough room for my circle to fit perfectly. What I've done is I've left myself a piece that's large enough for me to do something else with. So instead of ending up with two scraps, I've ended up with a piece that's large enough. The back of this will get matted onto another card because I'm going to be putting a mat and lay around the outside. So you don't have to worry that you've lost a little part of the design. So I'm just also going to take a little bit off the sides so that it's within that circle that we've got. Okay, so there we go. There's the main body of the card, and here is my card front that I've got. It wouldn't be too late for me to decide if I wanted to change that to a square, because of course, remember, I took that into consideration when I was actually making the shape. So we're going to build this card now, and I'm going to show you a couple of different things. So first of all, this has been designed to go with a particular part of the, particular background that is part of the collection. But I want to share with you a couple of different ways of using it. So instead of having it as one piece, which then limits the design you can work with, make this into two. So I've just snipped in there, and again, oops, put these in, snipped in on both of them on the sides. I'm just going to pop that up to the top. So you can see that I've got that one there and that one there. Now to ground this, I've got a couple of options. I can use one of my wiggly dies and cut it so that the trees look like they've been cut in. Or the other thing that I could also do is use some snow to cover up the trunks, and that snow would lend itself really well to the design that I've got here. But that is looking really good. You might, on the other hand, want to swap that out and use it and get a really wintry scene. So I've got just the branches, and I can do that taking literally the two different pieces, and that actually ends up and works really well too. But I'm going to go back to the one that we've just started with and use that. So here are those two pieces. Going to pop that there. I'm going to pop this one here. So I've got that in place, ready. Now, just looking at some of the other things that I could be doing with this. My little mouse. He sits absolutely perfectly. He covers up the tree trunks. He's in exactly the right place. That is looking really good. If I then wanted to use the deer, I could put my deer here, though Daddy there. The babies coming along this way. I'll put the little one here, just there, and then take my little deer here, and I'm just going to snip into his antlers so he can become a doe, a mummy. So she's got a little bit of fur on here, so I'm just going to take that and just make it a little bit smoother so that she can go here. So we've got our mummy and daddy, we'll put those next to each other, baby and the family. And you can see how we've created that lovely little story. And all I've done is snip into this one to make that a little bit different and add in that extra bit of detail. Now, so all of them together, and I'm just going to take those away and just look at what would happen if we swapped them out and we used our foxes. So let's put the little ones right to the front. We'll put our mummy just looking. She's looking this way, so would look much better if I were able to put her there, because that tells the story better. Looks like they're looking in this direction. And actually, I could then just put my greeting in here, and that finishes off that design. Or lift that, and let's look at how we would build a little mini bouquet. So we're starting off with some of these lovely flowers. Now you do get them in 2 different sizes because you've also got the gathering as well. The little mini pine cones work beautifully. I'm going to add in these tiny little thistles that we've got. And we've gone with this really icy colour this year to make this as versatile as possible. But I also don't want you to think of these flowers as just Christmas. Please get them out all year round. We've tried to give you lots of different styles so that they work. And of course, the berries are fabulous, but they also really lend themselves to building this little story that we've got right here. And then a few more of the little pine cones just to finish it off, and a couple more of these to bring the design together. And see how I'm making this into a into sort of like a almost like a little corner. So I'm creating that corner of detail and design. Just don't want those two sitting so that they were just looking at each other. I want them sort of more balanced. So that gives us a more balanced finish. And then that little flower there. So I've actually come round the corner, tiny little splash of colour that we've got just here, which works really well. And then one last little pine cone. We'll pop that one up here, I think. Just finishing off the design. So the colours that I've got here are reflected in the foliage. We've got the in the trunks, actually in the little foxes. The L shape that I'm working with actually is complementary to the square. The trees that we've put in give us more detail. And if I take this away, you'll see how much it loses and it sort of just fades into the background. I'm going to take that one away as well. You can see now these look like they're just stuck at the front of the story. Instead of, by putting all of these pieces, if I just pop these back in, you can see how it looks like we're bringing all of it together, and it's much more joined up, it's more finished, it looks more designed, and it's giving us it's bringing everything together. And then the other thing that I would do to just really make this work is just put our little fence in right at the very bottom, tucking it into those flowers, and then bringing the little foxes to the front of it. So we really have now linked the whole story, the picture at the back, the foliage, bringing the story together and creating that lovely composition. And that's what this storytelling is about. And if I just move this out of the way for one moment, I'm just going to let you see how that changes just by changing the shape of the aperture. And so we're going to need to come in a little bit here. So remember, the heavier piece is going to go to the bottom. So we've got our foliage there. We're going to put our fence, and I would have that so the fence comes over the edge. We'll put Mummy just here and the babies to the front. So she looks like she's in part of the story. And then we need a lot less flowers with this circle because it's really, and I would take them from probably here to maybe even this top corner. So just a few of them, perhaps a couple of the anemones, and then some of those little pine cones, we'll pop those on as well. Put them in here. The berries, so we get that little pop of or splash of blue in here. And of course the little stems, because they will hug the frame. And you can see here how changing it and bringing in these extra little pieces really make the difference. And what I'm going to do in the next one is I'm just going to ask our lovely Andrew if when we do this, he might even be able to screen grab them for us so that we could show you them side by side. I don't know, that might be technically a thing that we can't do, but we'll see whether we can get that. We could do some of that for the next classes. But you can see that it just changes everything, doesn't it? It makes it look so different. And this piece as well, we were working with that L shape, or the L shape for the corner. And what I've got now is I'm sort of hugging the circle, but there's a couple of fundamental things that are important. Really nice here because these two flowers sort of cross over, and you've got that little bit of different colour coming in, so it's bringing all the shades together. The berries are tucked behind one of those anemones, and then we've got the pine cones just peeking out as well. There's one part of this that jars straight away, and it's the fact that these two flowers are level with each other. So try and avoid that happening. The best thing to do is to make it so that they're not. So what I would be doing here would be literally getting them so that there's a little bit of space between them, so they're shaped as I've got them. And then maybe even consider a little flower over the top of it, just to bring that all together. But don't let these two be perfectly level because it will spoil the design. And I don't think we need that white flower. We probably could move those berries around there, and that starts to look aesthetically a lot more pleasing. Shorten the stem slightly, and there we go. And so we've got a little bouquet, we've got our story, we've got our little fox family, and of course they are looking towards the greeting, which would be on its way to you. And I'm really proud of what we've done here with these flowers, because didn't want to bring you just the normal red, white and blue, you know, snowflakes, all that kind of thing. There's lots of it about. Wanted to bring you something that was a little bit different. So I'm just going to trim down this sentiment that I've got for you. It's being created on Minecraft Studio. So it's got some faux mats and layers. We have got some sentiments that we're going to be putting as downloads for you. So check those out. Just making sure I'm getting this exactly the same. And I am doing this by eye, so please forgive me for just doing it a couple of times to make sure it's perfect. And then the other thing that I need to just mention while I've got you, and you know, this is, if you're watching this after let's have a look. Let me do this with a pair of scissors because it'll be quicker and easier. And I'll just show you how to do this. So I've got my scissors and I'm supporting my fingers with my the scissor blade with my fingers, and I'm literally this way. I can move this around by using my other part of my hand, and then I'm holding it really steady as I just let that blade close, and you will see that you get a really, really good, clean sharp, crisp finish. I'm just going to finish off this one. Let's get you there. And that is perfect to sit just on here. Okay, so there we've got, that's another one of our lovely compositions. So giving you lots of ideas of things that you can do with it. But there's a lot more, and I haven't decoupaged yet, so I want to show you a couple of other things as well. So first of all, I'm going to move this out the way, and I'm going to take my circle and I'm going to work with that circle. Now, if I look at this, the designer's definitely lost something by taking away the scene. It's become much flatter, less exciting really. If I put my sentiment in there, that space suddenly starts to get taken up. And if I move up some of these elements so that they are, and look at how I'm positioning her paws so that she has got, she's actually got covering up that little piece where we've got, it cuts off straight. I've got that. Or the other thing that I can do is I can just trim that so that it comes to an edge there. So let's just tuck that one under again. Bring that to there. So now it comes to an edge. I can move her further away. So that's another little tip for you to share. And if I then take my flowers that I've got, and to do this one, I'm just going to move those out the way so I can show you how I would do this. So I take, first of all, pick one of the medium-sized flowers, so medium to larger. So I've got the roses. I'm going to put those at 1 o'clock and 9 o'clock. Then I'm going to put another one at 11 o'clock. Now, the centre of the rose, this one is going up there. That one is going slightly tilted, so it's slightly tilted into the middle. And this one is tilted even more. So they're all in slightly different orientations. Then would take my next one, which is, again, thinking about the orientation of the flower. I'm then going to put my peonies in. So again, each one of them, I'm just shaping them slightly, just giving it a little twist. All those little cut lines are perfect for this. They really help us get in our dimensions. See how it's starting to build? Then I'm going to go with some more of this particular little flower. So I'm bringing that one in. Going to fill in some of the gaps with our little berries. So we'll put some berries in, and then a couple of these little smaller flowers. And let me see, maybe I might take this one out actually. Let's take some berries, and again we'll go with a couple of these. I'll pop that one there. Give this one a little white one as well. So yep, that's starting to look good. I'm going to then take that one away. So you can see how you literally start to build the design, checking which way it's working, whether you're happy with it and you've got all the elements in the places that you want. Then we are going to leave a little gap for our fox. I'm going to put just some tiny little flowers down here because we don't want to overpower it. Just a little bit more of that detail. So I'll come small here. We don't want the big ones. We want to keep it so that it's all in the right proportion. So we've got the arch of the flowers at the top, but we've still got the extra part, that extra depth of the card at the bottom to keep this really balanced. And I'm going to bring in the little berries that are going to go here. Then we'll put in the little pieces that are going to just sort of soften the size of those big flowers that we've got. So we'll put those in and put them in, and we've got them facing in different directions, so we can tuck those in. You can see how very quickly putting these in makes the difference. Starts to sort of soften the whole thing, make it less sort of bulky. Put the little pine cones in. It's important to get those in, looking at where they're going to go and get the balance of the design as well. So I've got those. A couple more of these little long flowers. One doesn't suit there, but it will suit up there. Got them going in different directions. Think it would work better if I keep them going in the same direction. I'm going to take that one out and place it just there. So I've got that little bit of detail here. And then what I would be doing now is I would just take a picture of this before I dismantle it to glue it. So quickly on my phone, take a little snapshot of it. So I would then glue that in place. And then the next thing that I'm going to do is take these twigs and I'm just going to snip into the twigs like this. And I'm going to take out, let's have a look where I'm going to go. I'm probably going to go about there and just snip it. And I'm going to put a few pieces of, well, just like sort of wood, just tucked inside. And again, it feels like it wants to go in the same direction. So I'm just going to make that come in the same direction. So, and then I've got another piece here. So I'm going to snip this one there. You can put that piece in up there. And let's have, this one could be cut, easily be cut into two. And we'll put a piece of it just there and there. So we've got that. And where's this piece going to go? Let's tuck you under there. So I've actually used part of my tree to just add in a little bit of texture and tucked that in. One wants to go in there. And what a difference it makes without that background. But when you add all the other elements into it, it really comes to life. And I'm just going to lift out my little fox family and move my design slightly, so that I'm going to bring this right down here, put my little mouse up there, move all this round just slightly because it needs to fill that gap. So I'm just going to, obviously at home, when you're doing this, please just take a little tiny bit more time than I have. And our sentiment would go up here. So our little mouse will sit there on the front of that. Take the little mouse away. And I want to just put a single deer, then I could do that too. And there's another little card for you, but without using the backgrounds, but it does look stunning. Take those flowers away and the foliage and the embellishing, and it really doesn't have the same effect. Now on this one, that actually looks too big. So I'm going to move that in, bring these elements in, just change that. And there's a couple of other little things that you could add into this to just make it a little bit more Christmassy. And I'll just pop those up there. Let's see what we're going to do. And just pop that piece there. Just spread that out a tiny little bit so that I've got more depth. And then I'm going to take my little house and I'm going to tuck that in as part of the wreath and put those little houses in as well. And again, it's another little thing, but it adds that extra little bit of detail. So building our wreath there. Right, so another one for you. This one's completely different. So I'm going to take the tree trunks. So tree trunks that I've got here. And I have got, and did have 4 of them because I cut 4 specially, but I have cut one of them up. So we'll work with these 3. Okay, so I'm going to come into here and I'm not going to snip it in a straight line because that doesn't work for us. We need it to be random. So snip random, okay, like that. So they look like they are 2 separate pieces. Next thing, we'll go same thing here. So I'm going to go up there, snip, snip, go a bit nearer, bit further. That's that one. And then I'm going to go, where am I going to go on this one? I think I'll go just there. That's going to snip, that's going to snip. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to go differently on this one. So snip, 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 there. Let's turn that one over. And I wonder if you can work out what I'm going to be doing. And then this one, snip, snip, snip. And this is really where I want us to get creative for Christmas. So I've got all of these pieces. Okay, so now what we're going to do is I'm going to work on this piece of black card because I think this will give you the best, you'll get the best view. So they all need to be half the size. So I'm just going to cut those in half. Cut them. That one will go there. That one I know will be good. That one will go here. Then we'll go there. And we'll go there and there. Right, so these are all my pieces that I've got. Okay. Now I need to give myself a guide. So I'm going to work with this circle that I've got here. And I'm just going to go around the outside edge. And I'm using a black pen on this black card. If you're working on, because we don't want to see it, so I can see that. I think you can just about. When you're doing this at home, either use something that you can emboss with or a colour that matches the cardstock that you've got, because we don't want to be able to see any little bits of that poking through. And trust me, it will, because we're going to do a very open wreath. So we're now literally going to place these pieces like this all the way round the outside edge, like that. So I've got these elements. In fact, I am going to glue this down for you because I think you'll get to see it better if I do glue. So, and you know, I made sure this bottle wasn't stuck before I started, and sure enough it is. Okay, so let's go round here. Just going round. That will probably be enough, but we'll see. So we're going to go there and there. And I'm making sure I'm using the fluffy bits first. So here, making there. I need a fluffy bit over this side. There. That's the start of it. Then we're going to go, I'm going to use my glue gel because this will make it better. In fact, I'm just going to see so that you're going to be able to really see this. I'm going to lift this, guys. I want you to be able to see this really well, and I don't know whether you're going to see it as well as you can from the black. I'm just going to lift it. And let me show you with the pen so that you can see what would happen. Okay, should be okay. Right, let me just get this like this. Okay, so just going to go round with my silicone or my glue gel. Got to make sure you've got plenty of this in when you're Christmas card making. Right, so let's tuck this on. So here we go. Right. Great, that's loads better. It's quicker as well. So we're going, I think that piece is too big, so I'm actually going to trim this. we go. So we'll get that feathery bit there. A feathery bit there. So we're making ourselves a twig wreath. We've got wide bits, we've got thin pieces, we've got them with bits of foliage, we've got them without, got them going in different directions. So you can see it very quickly starts to build. And then I've got another piece here. Let's see where you're going to go. There, I think. And then this one will go across here. So what then I'm doing is everywhere where I've gone I've got a almost like a V, I'm tucking another piece across to break that up. So I'm sort of trying to, the wider and the more of these twigs you put in, the more it becomes a circle, if that makes sense. So I'm just tucking these little pieces in to where I've got the glitter elements, which you can see. We then take our trees. Actually, I'm going to do it without the trees. I'm going to do it with the fence instead. So I then take my fence, and this will tuck behind. So because I've still got my silicone and it's nice and wet, this will go behind there. So you can see that I've got my design there. My little house is going to go over there. My sentiment comes here in this part. So I've got that little house with the sentiment. And then all I need then is those little berries we'll snuck in before we're ready for them. I'm just going to get that piece in there. And then all I need to do then is take either my little foxes and put them to the front, or my baby deer and put these to the front, like that. And then this whole thing goes onto a scene. So the scene is just around the outside of the design. So you actually put this, build it onto the front, and the scene just takes the detail from the sides. And that's the way that we create these little mini wreaths that we've got, which looks super, super cute. Okay, so that's another one for you. And I've got one more that I want to share with you. So the next one, I'm going to use my viewfinder, but I'm actually going to use it folded in half to make a card. So this is going to become the card shape. So that's your card shape, okay? And then what we do, we take our trees and we tuck the first one inside there, and it actually will glue to the inside of here. So I'm just going to put this down. I'm going to use foam because that glue's not happy at the moment. So please use wet glue yourself. I'm going to do this with foam because I want to be speedy. So that's going to go there. So that is the first part of the card, and we are going to be closing this up so it's finished. So that's the first part. The next part of it is I need to keep this going all the way across the design. Now we've got a straight edge here, so get one of these pieces and cut up to a tree. Don't cut it straight like that, otherwise it doesn't look right. So you're going to cut up to the tree and literally cut away that bit of foliage so that it's random, and then that tree sits over the edge. So it's almost like you've got a branch in front of the trees. So that should make sense, I'm sure. So that one's going to go down here. So this is completely different to anything we've done before. And it's going to sit there like that. All of this foliage is going to disappear Oops, I've just got that a little bit too high, but let me trim that because that'll be easier than removing it. So you can see that that's how we've got our tree. I'll just get this piece of white card underneath so you can see it. So they would be glued together, okay? Right, now the next part of this is we're going to take some of the tree and do some decoupage. So I'm just going to pull out a little bit of this detail. I'm hoping that that's the right bit. Yep. So I'll pop you there. I've got a couple of little pieces that are landlocked. I'm just going to get rid of those because it makes such a difference when you get the light coming through and the airiness that we want when we're decoupaging up. So that one is going to go just there, so that'll tuck underneath where that edge is. So that's there, like that. Make sure that they overlap so that that's nice and neat that we've got. Then we've got our deer. So we've got our mummy and our daddy. And the reason I wanted to do this was I wanted to show you it as another card shape. So I'm just going to trim that level at the top because that needs to be flat and level. Let's just move slightly. Wait till that's dry before you do that. So there we go. Right, then this bit, I've got to just attach this because otherwise we won't get the effect. So I'm going to just use a little bit of tape. Please make sure you've stuck yours properly the way I described at the beginning because you'll get a better effect. Right, now we're going to take our deer. So there's one and there's the other one. So I've got two deer that are going over here. And I'm going to have to just make this work. So this is what we'll do. We'll put some foam on her body. And we can put her in place. So she's not going to a foam party. She's just having a bit of foam. She's got up there. We'll put Dad. Put this up here so I don't make the same mistake. So make sure when you've attached them, you've got them in the right place. Right, and that one's going to go there. Our little babies, you're going to come down here. And we'll put you on some foam as well. And we'll pop that there. Right, so if you're listening after the 7th of August, you're too late. But if you're before then, I'm going to tell you about our festival. We've got this amazing craft festival coming up because we are officially opening our academy on the 7th of August. And for 10 days, we're doing classes. And day 1 and day 2 are different classes. And in fact, I've got a little poster. I'll share it with you. But guys, you have to come and see us because you get 4 classes, your lunch and all your refreshments. You don't need to bring anything at all. Free parking, and you get all of that for £40 because we want you to just come and have a fantastic time. Okay, so I would do that little corner thing that I showed you earlier. So I'm just going to do that here. I'm just going to make this happen. I bet you're wondering how this is going to stand up. It's not acetate. And obviously it's not the back of this card because I've glued them together to get all the gubbins neat inside. That's really important. Got crafter's fingers at the moment. I've had a couple of little run-ins with things. Right, so berries, foliage, just like we talked before. We would have some of our little things. Put some more berries down here. Let's get a few little blobs of glue in place there. Another one of those lovely little roses. And then I'm going to use that little blob of glue to get a bit there. Then I'll have another one of those little flowers just there. A couple more of the pine cones because they're going to finish it off. And we'll go there. Whoops. Actually, get you on that. That's not got enough on, so I'll pop me in there. And then we put these in. And these really are the finishing touch. Now you've got a lot of leaves on the other set of dies that are in here, but I didn't, I wanted to just show you a few different things and that you don't have to use everything. But I would go and get some leaves for this particular design because I think it could look quite nice. And the other thing that I just need to share is I'm just going to snip the berries away from that little piece and put my little snowdrops in there. So they are, so I've taken a little mouse off, so my little snowdrops are tucked in. Let's get those in properly in. A couple more of the little tiny pieces that I need, which are here. So I'll just pop those in, one or two more, and we are almost there. So that comes right out to here. So, oops, need a bit of glue on here, the back. And I hope you'll adopt this as a card shape because, so this is what our card looks like. So, like that. And what you need to do is, oops, sorry, everybody, my bad, is we get ourselves another one of these frames. And this one is very, very slightly smaller than the one that you've just been seeing. Smaller as in the aperture. You then are going to glue this one to this one. So you'll see, and you glue them up perfectly. So you can do them in two different colours. So you will see a frame inside. So if I just use this pen, you can see that you've got the frame inside there. So it really sort of looks effective. And it stands like that. So that gets glued to the front. It will stand like that. There's the inside for you to be able to write on. And you've created another really different kind of aperture that looks fab. But there's one last thing I want to share. Remember that piece that we didn't throw away? I love it when a plan comes together. What you would do with that is you're going to have to trim off these edges. Okay, just because they need to be, I've got to just work out that it's the right amount trimmed off to make it so it's level. So, of course, please do it perfectly at home. Okay, so I've trimmed it off so that when it's up here, I've got the same border there, there and there. Okay, remember that's the front of the card. But now, if I put this one like that, I've got the scene behind. So it looks like the scene is really far in the distance, but you can see it there, just peeking through. So a completely new card shape for you, a lot of fun, and quite a bit of mess too. I've had a fabulous class, thank you so much. Please join us for our academy for that festival because, gosh, I can't wait to share with you everything we're doing. And yes, we are disabled friendly. Yes, we can cater for different dietary requirements because we are going to be providing you with lunch. We've got 4 classes on each day. No, you don't need to bring any equipment with you. The parking's free and we're only a few minutes off the motorway and a fabulous train station. So check us out. And you'll find everything on highlightcrafts.com. And thank you for your company. See you all again soon.
If you want to see more from Highlight Crafts, make sure you click the like button.
Subscribe by clicking the subscribe button below and click the bell icon to receive notifications of all of our future content. You can also click here to see our latest video, or click here to see more videos like this one.